everyone. Welcome to Enablement Uncanned. Today's guest is Phil Laslett, founder of Move Forward Consulting, where he helps tech companies drive revenue growth through partners with enablement strategies that deliver real results. He's got 20 years in tech sales, alliances, channels, and enablement leadership. And Phil, you've worked with startups, global enterprises alike to turn partner potential into partner performance. You did start your journey unconventionally, though, right? Selling books door to door in the US, where you faced shotgun dog attacks, which is crazy in itself. And you were 20 miles from the Pentagon on 9/11 as well. So pretty serious stuff. But I think these experiences from what we've spoken about in the past have sort of forged deep belief in resilience, confidence, and mindset and principles at the heart of, your enablement approach. And Phil, you're also a children's author, right? With the
Yeah.
Cheetah Cub Running Club series, so you don't really get much sleep at all, and a Brave Steps program delivered in schools, helping kids build confidence and take bold steps forward, much like the partner sales teams you now support. So in this episode, which we're titling "From Door to Door Sales Partner Success: Being a Catalyst for Revenue Growth," we're going to explore your journey, Phil, your enablement philosophy, why partner enablement done right is one of the most powerful levers for accelerating revenue. Phil, welcome to Enablement Uncanned. It's great to have you here. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks, Jack. It's great to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for putting up with my dodgy setup today, because as you know, I've got a desk on top of a desk. But hey, it's doing the business, and here we are. But Phil, let's get cracking. So what is your boldest take on why sort of, and I say most, partner enablement programs fail? Let's get started there with your uncanned approach on that, your uncanned take.
Well, I think, Jack, the key thing is first is just to define what we mean by partner enablement. And my philosophy around enablement in general is you're fundamentally looking to ignite and instill confidence in your audience. You're looking to get them to execute on the best next step to deliver the results that you're looking for. That'll be a win-win outcome for all. And typically, and I agree with you that point around enablement programs, some do fail, but most actually have a slow death. And that's
Yeah,
really when the relationship seems to dilute. You've had an awesome initial experience at the start, and you're just so frustrated because you can't understand why it is. And I would say this really comes down to not being successful in that thing that I said, which is instilling and igniting confidence. And my philosophy is this is around three areas. One is confidence at a stakeholder level, that they really believe that you can deliver material value to them. And that could be in many different ways. Confidence in the sales team, that they believe you can actually deliver and you have the credibility that they're willing to take you into their customers. And actually that they have the confidence it's the best use of their time, because fundamentally they've got so many different priorities, particularly at a
yeah.
partner. And third, the sales management or leadership of that partner are advocating for you, and they've got the confidence as well that what you're asking them to do is the right thing for their teams to deliver that material value.
And I guess in terms of not creating those unrealistic expectations, right? I mean, that's a big of it. And I think you and I spoke about this last week. There's partners have so much on, right? It's how can we
Yeah.
prioritize that from a and make those realistic expectations. And it's not about what you want to teach; is about what they need to win and how they need to sort of get that result in the end.
For
Um,
sure. The number one thing that you need to do from partner enablement perspective is focus on what's in it for them. That's
mm,
all those layers of stakeholder alignment we talked about. Executives, go to market, and the sales team as well. And I think it's really making sure you take a step back and you focus on the right partners. So many times I see this approach where it's a quantity of a quantity scenario, when
yeah,
actually looking at the fact that you can be a catalyst for organizations to not just generate revenue growth, but in a multifaceted different array of ways. You could help remove an inhibitor for them into a particular market, or for them to get more market share. You could add a mechanism for them to take more wallet share from their customers. There's so many different ways you can be a catalyst, and actually taking a step back and recognizing that and approaching the right partners first is really helpful to make sure that enablement will be a success.
So how do you get all this time, Phil? Because that's one thing, right? You are there's so many things you're doing. So let's dive into that origin, right? I kind of want to. I want the listeners to sort of feel what I felt a few days ago when you were talking to me. Obviously, you and I have known each other a while now, but we really sort of went into your origin and sort of where you came from, Phil, from a sales background and sort of all the events that happened. So give us a little bit of background and the listeners a background on that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a long journey. Like you said, I started experiencing sales for the first time, door-to-door commission only in the US.
Yeah.
When I was at university, I went out to the US 4 times and got trained in Nashville, Tennessee, and then we were sent out to different territories in groups of, and it was an incredible experience. I learned how it was important to just really focus on controlling the controllables.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I rely on every day is the fact that the answer's behind the next door. We always had that mantra because you're facing so many no's. And yeah, it was really enjoyable experience, but also one of the most challenging things I've ever done, but planted the seeds from a sales perspective for sure.
Yeah, it's the answer is always behind the next door. That's a great way of putting it. Because our salespeople do get rejected all the time, right?
We certainly do. We certainly do. And I remember being out there, whether it be in the suburbs of Waldorf, Maryland, like you mentioned, not far from the Pentagon on that difficult day, or whether it would be in the countryside of DeKalb County in Virginia. And yeah, you just came up with so many different obstacles you weren't expecting, and you just had to learn how to get over that. And it definitely helped me learn the importance of learning my sales scripts, how to answer objections, but also the importance of getting into a community and building rapport, and then using referrals, which is something that's really big in partner enablement as well, right?
Yeah, amazing. And you spent some time, was it down in Tampa? You said you spent some time, Florida, or am I making that up?
No, not at all. My last
Okay.
summer I was down in Tampa, Sarasota County, selling to people that lived out in the countryside, dodging the odd alligator, and really focus. It was really interesting actually, because I ended up, rather than knocking on like 80 doors or speaking to 80 people every day when I was in a more established area, I'd only speak to about 20 people a day, because they had gates at the end of their drives from their properties. So again, just having to adapt to the market conditions, and doorstepping people on, stopping them essentially when they were leaving for school or work or at the end of the day, and showing them my educational books. Yeah.
Amazing. It's just learning all this early, right? Sales, and I'm a big believer in this. Sometimes the sales skills, can you always coach somebody? But learning early, right? Mindset, confidence, and resilience are the true sort of sales foundations. Because if you don't have them, then are you going to be a good salesperson? And I think that's I'm a true believer in that. I used to say to people, you wake up a good you're born a good salesperson. You've either got it or you haven't. And some of that is true. I honestly think it is. But if you've got that mindset, that confidence, and that resilience, that something like that and those events out there can, the dog attacks, all those kind of things that sort of got you going, Phil, it does define you as a human, right? So.
Yeah, and it was always Dalmatians as well. I'm not quite sure the dog attacks I had. So yeah, that was interesting. But you make a really key point there. I really do believe that it's all about action. We spend a lot of time thinking rather than doing. And sales, I think, is all about positive action, almost having like a pronoia, as they say, approach to life, that things are there to support you and guide you, and the opportunities are out there. And in university, there's always opportunity. So yeah, definitely was a good learning experience for that.
So when did you? So when you finished that part of your life, when did you sort of break into the tech and the enablement world? When did that happen?
Yeah, so straight after my fourth summer, after a bit of traveling, came back and I got into looking for a job after
Hmm.
graduating. And I went through, like a lot of people, the Pareto law route.
Same as
So
me. I did exactly
yeah,
the same. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. So yeah, they were going back a long time. This is like 2005, and what was great about that was it was almost like Pop Idol X Factor, but we got the chance to. We were always asked the question, "What have you done that you're really proud about that it's not academic?" So obviously, I was able to rely on starting my own business, selling books door to door, etc. So that was great. And I got into tech industry straight away with an organization called Vicestorm out in Oxford, who got bought by HP,
Mm.
became part of HP Enterprise. And I worked at Vicestorm selling cybersecurity solutions for a while. And then I went and worked at a number of startups. And yeah, being in sales, sales enablement, strategic alliances as a cloud specialist for some time, for the past 20 years. And it's been a really, really enjoyable but multifaceted route to where I am today.
So many different moving parts to it, right? And throughout your time there, you've kind of discovered from our conversations, you've discovered that gap in partner readiness as opposed to the internal readiness, right? And I guess that's kind of why Move Forward Consulting kind of came to light. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even from right from the get go, I recognized that I enjoyed encouraging, enabling, empowering people as much as I did actually being a bag carrier myself. And the opportunity came when I was at SunGard to form a sales enablement function for 200 sellers globally.
Yeah.
And leaning on the enablement I've been providing already as a cloud sales specialist and running that team, leading to 100% year on year revenue growth. And it was really enjoyable. We had a lot of success with that. And then when I left in the back end of 2021, after a foray into children's authorship, I formed Move Forward Consulting. And fundamentally, yeah, it's all about igniting confidence to accelerate growth in all parts of enablement. But in the last year, a lot of my client engagement has all been around enabling the partners of my
Hmm.
clients.
Hmm.
And I love it because it can be a real compounder for value. And if you think it's a challenge, enabling and empowering your own sales force, there's added complexity when you do that with partners as well.
I was going to say, I mean, how challenging must it be, right? Because it's bad enough but to, like you said, trying to do it internally with your getting the trust from your internal stakeholders, your internal salespeople. What's it like enabling someone else's team? I mean, who I guess could also be distracted, disinterested, maybe. What's that like?
Yeah, it is challenging, and it can not get the results you want quite
Mm,
regularly.
I
Fundamentally,
bet.
that is around you got to understand the people, the eclectic mix, and the audience that you're going to be enabling. And you have to really dial in to the way they operate, what works for them, how you can fit into their portfolio and their sales motion, how you can really be respectful of their time, focusing on micro enablement. Like I talk about it being like poetry, right? Poetry that is incredible has been stripped to its pure corners
Yeah.
and hasn't got one extra word than it needs, right? It's the same with enabling and micro enablement, just absolutely the leanest amount of information, messaging, and tooling that you can give to a partner or to an individual so they can take that next step. And it's also about being differentiated. Enablement fatigue is a real thing, and particularly in partner landscape. It, you know, I don't know about you, but I've been in so many trainings where it's just
Yep.
been an information dunk. I've not looked forward to it, and I've been like, I've got so much more on my mind. I'm just not paying attention. And the second that that partner leaves, you may have been really pleasant, but you're like, right, what are the other 5 things I need to do?
Yeah,
And
exactly. It's not on the
it's
mind.
not executing. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had the exact same thing. Not where I'm at now, but previous to Bigtincan, it is just a checkbox exercise most of the time, or at least that's the way it is, right? You've done your thing, you've ticked your box. The partner's been in, they've done what they need to do, and they're off again, right? Um, so yeah, I completely hear you, but and I guess doing it well, you haven't just got to do it well, but you've got to do it well over a long, sustained period of time, right? To get those compounded results, because, like we said, most organizations don't actually ever get there.
Yeah. And enablement is one side of a coin and the other side is co-selling, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's really important to realize you've got to build trust. You've got to win hearts and minds, and that takes time. And
hmm
that is not just by saying, it's by doing. And you've got to be a practitioner, and you've got to recognize you're going to have to own and handhold in those first few deals. And the way that I recommend doing this is what I call a 3-2-1 approach. So you want to get commitment and alignment that you'll have 3 follow-on drop-in sessions where you can just repeat the message, reinforce the enablement, and get traction in the field for the call to action you've given. You want to have 2 named contacts on each side. You want to have a commercial owner and a technical owner, like a pre-sales on both sides that are interacting. And the one thing you're focusing on is a race to revenue. You want to get the
hmm
first win as quick as possible. And this is to prove that you can work together, because it's all well and good. You've got a great solution that the partner recognizes could be good for their customers, but they never want to be the first. So it's finding a champion and getting, the first discovery calls, the first proposals, the first closed one deal, and proving when water's put down that pipe that you can work together successful, and then championing that through. And then you can go from winning trust to building momentum, and then ultimately to embedding a system.
Tough. It sounds like a real. It's bad enough doing all of them things just internally, right? For my own self, getting a close one deal, getting a discovery in the diary, all these kind of things. That's tough in itself. Let alone having to then go in and almost get somebody else to trust you as that trusted advisor, to actually go forward and do these things.
Uh, yeah, I think a key point to make is not all partnerships aren't equal, right? And you
No.
want to be tiering partnerships. You want to look at who are the real strategic relationships, which are going to really move the needle and which are worth the investment. Because the fact is that partners can really improve sales velocity. They can improve the number of high quality opportunities that you have. They can improve your conversion rate and reduce the sales cycle, particularly if you are trusted to partner with them to sell into their incumbent customer base.
Yeah.
But I totally understand if listeners are completely cynical around the investment of time as well, because there's so much sunk cost that can go into it. So that's why doing a proper ideal partner profile at the front end is so important to decide where you're going to put your bets.
Where do you think people are investing more into partner, or they're getting someone internally to do it? Is that? Do you see a difference in that?
In the tech space, it depends on the
Mm,
market. I work with managed service providers, consultancies, SaaS, and I see organizations that moved or have consistently been for many years a 100% channel model or partner
okay.
model. And people are recognizing the compound effect that partners can bring. There was a report just this week, the Epster benchmark, go-to-market benchmark report, that talks about the fact that partner referrals have a higher efficiency of 30% on net new logo wins than any other form of lead generation,
Oh,
including
wow.
paid, outbound, or events, or organic inbound. And that's just one example. Or another example is if you get it right with a large strategic partner, let's say a cloud partner like a Microsoft, a Google, or an AWS, those strategic alliances can really be a catalyst for significant revenue growth in particular verticals, for example. So to answer your question, a lot of focus on partners, some cynicism, but when done right, it can be a real catalyst for revenue.
Yeah, it's interesting because it helps me personally in what I do, right? Because the more partners that I know and I speak with, like yourself, Phil, it's great for utilizing tech or at least selling tech into the industry as well, because you've done it before. You haven't just done it with one organization; you've done it with multiple. So you're a good man to know, and people should do that. So moving into moving beyond training and sort of going into the execution of this, because it's all well and good planning it and having this sort of great plan and everything, but you've then got to go and sort of move into that strategic execution. We talked about mindset drives behavior, right? So is that kind of one of the core parts to this?
Yes, it is. In all enablement for me, mindset is
Huge.
crucial because the DNA of me is igniting confidence in people, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be children or adults in everything I do. And that is core to it. When I'm in schools, I talk about something called the fearless flywheel, which is all about trying to encourage kids to have more confidence, take brave steps forward through my books. The center point of that is having courage and being fearless with each small step that you take forwards, embracing experiences, celebrating success, and then dreaming big. And I have repurposed this model into what I call the moving mindset when I'm working with clients and with sales teams. And really, that comes down to what I call getting into gear. And
Yeah.
that is around goals, execution, action, reflection, because fundamentally, selling is a transfer of feeling. It's about having conviction in execution. And you can only do that if you really believe in the goal. You know what you need to do, you have consistent activity, and you're inspecting, reflecting on that to continually improve. So absolutely, mindset for me is key. And when you have been the catalyst for an individual or a business to get more confidence themselves and that's delivered results, then that relationship can really flourish.
Was that an acronym for goals there? Did you say?
So goals, execution, action, reflection, gear.
Okay. Oh, gear. Yeah, of course. I've never heard that. That's why I asked. It's I love it. Goals, execution, action, reflection. It's a good one. It's a good one. Getting into gear, something that people can get behind for sure.
Yeah, and I don't enjoy acronyms when it comes to tech, but I do
No, but
enjoy
I
them when
noticed
it's
it.
in.
Right, I noticed that one. You kind of just threw it into the conversation. I kind of wanted to highlight that out because it's something that I've not heard, and I like it a lot. So
And what I would encourage is actually doing the R first, which is the reflection.
yeah.
It should be a daily practice focusing on the gains that you've made rather than the gap ahead to your goal. You need a
Mhm.
clear goal, but reflect. Look at how you can really have that conviction execution and do that action. And if I may, there is another acronym that supports this as
Go on
well,
then.
which is just from a day-to-day perspective, which is fish. And this is all around focus, imagine, smile, and help. And it's really just getting into being present. So focusing on the day and what you're trying to achieve, that manifestation piece of imagining that going well or what success looks like. I'm a great believer in body language and so forth. So smiling and then looking to serve and help others. And when I'm talking to the kids in the schools, the age changes to have fun, right? Something we can
Hmm.
always try and remember to have a bit more
From a man that doesn't like acronyms to two in one talk.
of.
Killer. I love them both, and
Don't like tech acronyms.
I'm definitely going to be plastering them all over LinkedIn and tagging you in it because they're things that I do like a good acronym, particularly if it's something that you sort of live and die by. So that's great. Um, yeah, the fearless flywheel model is something that people should check out, right? Through one of your websites. We'll come on to that a bit later, but it's if you're interested in that model, make sure you check out Phil online. So I think it's important to talk about this partner enablement stuff, the micro enablement wins, right? The bite size, partner centric focus, what's in it for them, and not having long LMS modules and that mundane kind of way of doing things, right?
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the saying people, process, and technology.
Yeah.
I'm most a fan of people and the human side of it, as you can tell. But process and technology are fundamentally crucial to this as well. But you need an approach to enable in that bite-sized way. And micro-enablement is a continual drip feed. You need simple ways of evidencing what the value is to them, what you're asking the individual to do, and how to do it, and how you're going to support them in doing it. And for partners, even more so than for your own sales team, that has to be so simple and to a point, and something they can quickly refer to, and something that you can really reinforce. Adult learning principles, as you've probably heard many times, is that people forget 90% of the information that they come into contact on a daily basis or in a classroom, but they retain 70% if they use it. And that is why the advocacy of the sales leadership at a partner is so crucial, because if you can just encourage that action, to do the call to action and have that commitment to that 3-2-1 model, to have the follow-up sessions, and you can repeat it and reinforce it, then you're giving them a path to run on, and you're on a path to a sustainable, positive relationship.
It's so interesting because you say 90% is not retained, and it isn't. It isn't, right? Particularly with long modules and those kind of things. People just click, click, click all the way through to the end, or they're just sat there mundanely thinking about something else. And, going back to the moving mindset thing, I was thinking when you were talking about it, my ex-MD, so my MD in my first ever proper sales company, was always on about mindset. Like, it was the biggest thing. If you don't have the mindset, you're not going to get anywhere. And it is. You could go into the office on some days and have a terrible mindset because the traffic was busy, right? And lo and behold, you would perform in a bad way. You wouldn't make as many calls. You wouldn't have as good connection rate, etc. As simple as that. Whereas if you had a great mindset, then things tend to look up. So Phil, moving through to the strategic alignment and execution, we know that enablement's one cog, right? You still need strong acquisition, activation, and the co-selling alignment. So maybe give us a bit of an idea to a story, that an enablement initiative that failed, or maybe one that succeeded due to that lack of, or again, that positive cross-functional support.
So I come into contact a number of times with organizations trying to execute too early. And one example I can think of that comes to mind is I was brought into an organization that wanted to enable some system integrators and value-added resellers that they believed they really strong alignment with, and they couldn't understand why they were executing sessions. They were having all the right things being said. They kind of had partner happy ears, and the opportunities just weren't materializing. And then after time, the relationship diluted, meetings were getting pushed, and ultimately the phone stopped ringing. And really what that came down to was the fact that they were targeting the wrong partners. They hadn't really found the organizations that they could be a true catalyst for, and going through that exercise first to get that real clear ideal partner profile. And they hadn't articulated that value in a material way to the key stakeholders, not just at an executive level, but also at sales leadership, go-to-market team, and at a sales level. Because sometimes you can actually fail even if you have executive alignment, because actually in the field and, first line managers is really where sales culture is set, right? So in this situation, there was a lot of sunk cost in trying to enable these teams. And then it meant that partnerships were considered tarnished. But over time, we were actually able to turn it around, and we got some real good results. But it took a while, because we had to redefine what successful partner engagement looked like.
I guess that's why the plan right at the start is one of the most important things. You were talking about it, having that review or reflection as part of the acronym that we were talking about as well. Really looking into kind of why you want to get there and what the problem is before we sort of go in and execute, like you said.
And considering how ready you are to partner.
Yeah, of course.
I call it partner readiness, and have a heat map for this, where you're looking at 15 different areas of different levels of maturity, whether you typically have that level of strategic alignment, whether you have portfolio or product market fit, that it makes sense, like you're targeting the same personas and ideal customers, whether you have the incentivization in place at all levels for partners to wish to work with you and prioritize working with you over other partners and all their other day-to-day activities. And the key thing is getting that alignment with the business objectives of that partner, because I've seen organizations do an incredible job of enabling a team. And actually the partner reps have succeeded and won the incentives, but it's actually distracted them from the business goal. The business hasn't necessarily hit those targets. And when it came to a QBR with a partner, actually the expectation was it'd be a really positive conversation, but it was the antithesis of that. It was a negative conversation. So that's really key, ensuring you've got that readiness and alignment.
To becoming that trusted advisor that you most certainly are, have you ever done a review with somebody and then declined to work with somebody based on them not being partner ready? I know you're not ready for that question, but I thought I'd ask it because it was something that just came to mind.
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is yes, but it's been a mutual decision.
Yeah, of course.
I like most individuals and organizations, will look to make it work if it makes sense, because I really do believe you can open the possibility of a win-win between partners. But what I've done though is make it a lot more lighter touch type of partnership. I think that's why it's really good to recognize there's so many different ways you can engage. You can be a referral partner, you can be a sell through, a sell with partner, you can be a fundamental strategic alliance. And you know what? I know organizations that actually have partners pay them to be partners.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
It's definitely a time game. And that's why I talk about it being not an attention economy, it's an activity and action economy, because you have to place your bets in the right place for you to take action. And if you do it with the wrong partners, or you just disregard partnerships and just expect them to bring you results, then you're not going to get the results that will hit your objectives.
Giving someone the time to do it, like you said at the start, it's not an overnight fix. A lot of this, right? You've got to, and this is one of the problems that I was speaking to on a previous podcast, is about, if you were to the lagging indicators. I think it was, if you were to, I say, fire or get rid of an enablement function, you don't actually know the issue or what's happening because of that until 6, 7, 8 months down the line. So it does take a while to instill it, but once it's in, it really is then creating that compounding impact, like we said earlier.
And I really want to convey the fact that I see sales enablement as a critical function, revenue enablement function. And in fact, because the term enablement sometimes has different interpretations, I talk about revenue acceleration. Exactly. Revenue acceleration. And I've actually got an incredible community of sales enablement practitioners and leaders and RevOps. And I call it the revenue accelerators community, because, like I said, and I sound like a broken record, every single person enablement is a catalyst and an accelerator of revenue when they're focusing on helping empower that individual or that function with the acquisition or the retention of revenue, and long may it continue.
Yeah, no, I love that. So I'm going to ask you one final question before I sort of recap here. You're a children's author and you're a partner enabler, which are, on the face of it, two very, very different things, right? But how do they link in your world? How does being a children's author, which is amazing, by the way, and I will buy your books, I know I said I will, because I've got the 2 kids that will enjoy them. How does that inform your enablement philosophy? That's one thing I think the listeners would be keen to know.
All of it is about empowering others to reach the potential by getting out of their own way, because I see it in sales, I see it in everybody, whether it's 7 to 9 year olds or, 27, 47 year olds. The fact is, fundamentally, we all have the ability to create and provide value to the world. And most of the time, all it takes is courage and confidence and believing in oneself and not comparing ourselves to others. So if I can be a proponent for that, then I will. And to be really pragmatic about it, the fact is I know that the influence that I can have on others can compound and they can be a lever. Whereas what I can do just myself, like the old adage goes, right? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go as a team. So it's just really fulfilling for me to see the impact I can have when empowering and enabling others, and ultimately learning from them as well. So
I absolutely love it. I love it, and I will buy them books because I think it will help my kids that don't listen. So
like mine.
yeah, I think everyone's kid doesn't listen. I think it's just what happens. But yeah, just to kind of recap and sort of give a few takeaways for everyone on this one, because this is like you said, enablement can mean so many different things to so many different people, particularly in Europe, right? I've the amount of conversations I have about enablement. The word enablement doesn't really have a definition in Europe. In some places, they don't actually know what it is. So to kind of recap, partner enablement, we know it's not a set it and forget it. It's a key cog in an ongoing revenue engine, and I think that's super, super important for people to take away. And then focusing on getting alignment with the right partners and building that confidence to take action, not just delivering the content. And then, like you said, micro enablement, right? Regional awareness and delivering material value mindset are fundamental to earning trust and building that momentum. So I don't know if you had any last few points before I sort of get my marketing team to put up some flashy images and tell where to check you out.
Yeah, so believe in yourself as a catalyst and a catalyst to your partners. Go back and do that work of, are you approaching the right partners? What is the value we can provide to them? And there's 20 or 30 different ways you can do that. And then get strategic alignment, optimize with execution from an enablement, co-selling, and marketing perspective. And anytime you're engaging with your partner, respect their time, make it interactive, applicable, fun, and enjoy it, because the fact is you can open the door to real significant compounded revenue growth that can really accelerate your business.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Great words. So make sure the listeners to check out Phil's partner enablement checklist, his free partner enablement assessment, which is definitely worth a look, which are all available on his website. So Move Forward Consulting, which is Move Forward, which is also fine. Check out the Cheetah Cub Running Club and the Brave Steps program, which I believe the website is cheetahcubrunning.club. And if you want to check out Phil a little bit more, he does have his own website. All the websites, Phil. Philip Laslett, that's PhilipLaslet.com. PhilLaslett.com. So thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. It's been a good one, and this has been Enablement Uncanned.
Cheers, Jack.